Here's what happened this week in North Carolina politics. Once again, our state legislature is on a break this week. There is no work getting done at the legislature, and they're all on vacation, so I guess they fixed all the problems. One guy in Raleigh who is still on the job this week is Governor Stein. This week he publicly called out leaders of our legislature to get back to work to pass a budget. The new Republican federal budget that passed Congress the other week has massive consequences for North Carolina. They're dumping huge new costs on our state, from the big cuts in Medicaid and food assistance, and someone needs to figure out how we're going to deal with that. But the leaders of our legislature aren't doing anything to respond one way or the other. New data shows that under the Trump administration, there's been a huge surge in immigration arrests across North Carolina since late January. About 1,600 undocumented immigrants have been arrested since then. ICE has carried out large-scale immigration crackdowns across the state, but especially in the Charlotte area, which accounts for about a quarter of all arrests. The data shows that only about half of those arrested have any kind of criminal offense, typically minor stuff like traffic violations, but nevertheless, about 1,000 of that 1,600 arrested have now been deported out of the country. But those immigration crackdowns are becoming a concern for North Carolina business owners. Immigrants in the United States, whether documented or not, are much more likely to be in the workforce than native-born population. Specifically here in North Carolina, they're about 10 percentage points more likely than native-born Americans to be working. Now, of course, this kind of makes sense if you stop and think about it for 3 seconds, because most people who immigrate to the United States do so because they want to work and earn money, mostly in industries that native-born Americans really don't want to work in. Industries like farming or construction or food service or hospitality really couldn't function in their current form without immigrant workers, some of whom are undocumented. This family farm in Randolph County tried hiring Americans to pick strawberries, and they only lasted 3 days because the work was hard and hot, which, welcome to farm work. I gotta get out of this heat, hang on. UNC and Duke say they finally agreed on a new location for their big new children's hospital project. It's gonna be in Apex, the peak of good living. But remember all that budget stuff? Because the state legislature hasn't passed a budget, they don't know if they're gonna be contributing much or any money towards the project. And because the Trump budget bill is dumping hundreds of millions of new costs on North Carolina, we don't even know if the state would be able to afford that at all. But again, no one in our legislature is even working on that this week because they all decided to go on vacation. Cool. There's been terrible flooding all over central North Carolina from Tropical Storm Chantal, so stay safe out there, make sure you look after your neighbors, and support your local businesses wherever you can. Stay cool out there, and have a great weekend.